All right.
Jake, what's happening?
Eric, how it's gone? Good, man. I'm well. Still riding that wave, brother. Still riding that wave. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I am really excited, man. That this weekend, that launch, man, the Hunger for the Hustle launch, man, that was just awesome. I loved it.
Wasn't it? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just such a good time. We'll get into all of that. But before we do, let me just introduce my guest for today. No stranger to the show. I had Eric on the show way back in 2020. It would have been kind of October, November 2020. The mayor of motivation, an energetic speaker with a passion for connecting, motivating others to their own actions and becoming better, bigger than themselves, getting stuck, getting out of what Eric calls the mental quicksand. Military veteran and speaker, and now best-selling international author, Mr. Eric C. Collier. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate that. That was a great introduction, and thank you again for the opportunity to come back and speak with you, man. I was so excited the first time we got a chance to talk on this podcast, man. Just to see you launch this. That time frame was just a beautiful thing, and now to be a part of this again and had the opportunity to share with you, I'm really excited about it.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on, and it's all part of our journey and all part of our story, isn't it? We couldn't have been in that place if we weren't in that place. We wouldn't have got to this one, and I'm just so glad we did. I'm wondering, Eric, we're here today to kind of give people the behind the scenes version of what happened and how it went down. And I believe I asked you about the book. I think it might have even just been after that first episode we recorded off air afterwards.
Yes, sir.
Did you know wasn't it? Did you know straight away what your chapter was going to be about, or how long did that take to figure out that creative process?
I didn't, Jake. It's funny because first of all, when you asked me, I had to go through some things to actually make that decision, because for years I told myself that I wasn't a writer. For years I told myself I wasn't good enough to write anything that anybody would ever be able to read or pay attention to, and I wasn't a speaker. So there were things that I was telling myself that I had to get over before I could say yes to you. The funny thing is I said yes immediately because I was in that mode where I was determined to say yes to things that were going to challenge me. So no, I had no clue as to what I was going to write about, but I was determined that I was going to be a part of this book because I wanted to do something different. I wanted to make some changes, and my saying yes was going to make those changes happen.
Yeah, so you jumped out the plane without the parachute and figured it out on the way down.
Yes, sir. I just start flapping my wings, man.
And you know what a great job you did. We'll get into the details of the chapter as we go on in the podcast. But sorry, you were about to say something there. You were flapping your wings.
Oh, I was going to say I was flapping my wings because for days it took me a while to start writing. I had no clue where to start, how to start it, and like I said, it just came to me.
And so, how long did it take? Because I know for a lot of our authors, I mean, maybe even if I'm honest, me the longest. It took me pretty much best part of a year and a half to get that damn thing done. I really struggled with it. I really, I had imposter syndrome. I didn't think it was good enough. I didn't think I was good enough. I was conscious that because rightly or wrongly being the leader of the project, I wanted mine to be stronger, if equally as strong, if not stronger than any of the other chapters in there. It took me a while to push past all of that and realize the most important thing, that it was just authentic and it was my story and it came from me. Right. I think that's really what has come out of it for everyone. Everyone's is authentic and goes into who they are, not who they're expected to be, not who they wanted to be, but who they deeply are within themselves, and there's power in that. So how long did it take you kind of open to close?
Well, I didn't want to be the one to miss deadlines. So you guys put the deadlines out there, and I was determined to make those deadlines. And so come hell or high water, I was going to make that deadline, and I was going to give you something that had some, meat and potatoes. I didn't want to give you junk. And so I just made myself sit down and write it, and I wrote it over and over again before I gave it to you. And then you guys chopped it up, and then I just kept wanting to make sure I met those deadlines.
So it was a first. It was a first edit for you, really. You didn't get any. Did you get any help from anyone else? Any help
I
from
did.
family, friends? Or you did?
I did.
Yeah.
I did get some help. I sent you the first one, and Irene came back and goes, "Well, here's some things that we looked at. Here's what we saw, and here's Denise Nichols' number."
You went with Denise. Yeah.
You might want to call her. So I got a chance to work with her, and she's just awesome. She sat and listened to me and really helped me out with outlining the story and putting it together. So, like I said, I'm really blessed to have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, big shout out to Denise Nicholson.
Yes,
Bold Publishing.
You're awesome, Denise. You're awesome.
You are awesome. There's certain people who, if they weren't around this project, wouldn't have got across the line. Denise is one of them. Irene is another one. Michael's another one. Amina's another one. Look, I said it on the last podcast with Jay, but it's true. It takes a village to build a family at the end of the day.
Yes.
And we became indirectly a kind of bit of a wacky family, but a family in this process, right? It's great. Could you have seen it coming, Eric? Because I'm not. I had the vision, of course, and I had the goal, but you just don't know how much impact you're going to make and have, do you?
I when you first put it out, I was really excited about it, even though knew I was gonna be challenged. I saw the vision, and then as it kind of stretched out, I was a little worried that it wasn't going to get out, and I was a little worried, what was going on. But I figured in due time it would take place, and so I just sat back and wanted to be patient, because I knew that there's a process that has to take place. Everything doesn't go as planned. I believe that every time my plan fails or my plan goes in a different direction, it's for a specific reason. I've got to learn something new. I've got a new challenge that I've got to overcome. And so when my plan changes, I just look at it as, hey, there's a new opportunity and challenge for me to become better. And so just in that patience, I've learned so many different things along the way that now I'm here operating in a different mindset. And so I've truly enjoyed it. And I know that I wasn't the only one in the book that had challenges. And that was what the beautiful thing about this project was. We're people from different countries, and we're all battling the same challenges. The challenges that happen 6 inches in here, right? We got the challenges between our ears that tells us, you know what? You're still not good enough. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you put yourself on. You're not good enough. But we've got to be able to say, you know what? Yes, I am. And it takes a while for us to be able to come out of that old habits and behaviors of what we tell ourselves. I always say that what I tell myself, I sell myself. And so I have to watch how I speak to myself, because if I tell myself I'm no good, I'm more apt to believe I'm no good. But if I tell myself I'm the greatest of all time, I'm gifted, I'm beautiful, I can handle this no matter what. Bring it on, baby. Let's rock and fire. I got this.
I was waiting for it.
That's what hypes me up. That's what keeps me going, because I do believe that I'm gifted. I do believe I'm talented. And it took me a while to believe that outside of sports. So I know that, like I said, any challenge that I come upon that changes the plan that I have, there's a reason behind it.
Yeah, well, I think you've great words, Eric, and you've touched on it there. Everyone had the challenges within the book. Ironically, the book called Struggles to Success. It's a tongue twister, guys. You've got to be careful. Struggles to Success became in itself a struggle for many of those to now reach the success that they've got from it, and only just getting started, which is the most exciting thing. Quick shout out to Sonada on the side. Sonada has been a great supporter of the book, and has in fact got her own book out, which I bought yesterday. I'm looking forward to that coming in the mail. So congratulations, Sonada, indeed. So everyone has those struggles. Everyone has that imposter syndrome. Whether you tell yourself you can or you can't, you're right either way. I think Henry Ford came out with that one, and mindset is everything, as was laid out, and what you've just said, I think really draws parallels from your chapter, knock out that unexpected opponent, and that 352, if I remember rightly, day, which was probably, from the sound of things, one of the most difficult years of your life.
Oh yes, 352 days of being laid off because when I went into it, because of the nature of the industry I work in, I really and truly expected to be back to work with, after getting a severance pay, my vacation pay, basically getting kind of a bonus and coming back to work in the same position, the same building, same chair within a matter of weeks, and it didn't happen that way. And
No, and
as
that's
so,
sorry,
and
sorry,
that's okay. And as that plan fell through, man, it really got challenging. What people don't know is prior to that layoff, a few years earlier, my wife had gotten laid off, and we were faced with a similar challenge. But because of my income, we were able to kind of overcome it. It was still a challenge, but I wasn't the one going through it. I was more of doing my role, which was normally take over, make sure things happen, make sure everything is held together, and we're still afloat, and be there for her. But this time it was it was a little different twist to it, right? I had to be there for her, find a way to keep us afloat, and I had to do a lot of things where inside here I was struggling, man. I was struggling with, man, as a man, I've always been taught you're the provider. I wasn't providing. I was coming up short, you know. I'm telling my wife, she's coming home and I want to show her something that I've done. And I'm saying, I've got nothing. I'm putting my resume out. I got nothing. And then there's a point where I'm telling her, oh, I got an interview. Then I got no job. I've got an interview. I got the job. I don't have a job. So it was just up and down roller coaster ride. And even though, at that time I was working a job that I had a part-time job that I picked up when she had gotten laid off. I was working that 7 days a week, and we were still coming up short. You're like, man, I can't, what do I do? And sometimes I even worked at UPS for a while, just trying to work those jobs, trying to make it happen. And it took me back to when I was 19, 20 years old, when we first got started. My wife and I have been together 33 years. And so when we first got started, that's what I was doing, working 2 jobs, trying to make things happen, sometimes 3 when we found out my son was coming. And it took me back to that moment where I'm doing everything I could, but it wasn't working. It wasn't enough. And so what can I do next? And at that point, man, I had some aha moments that that just said, hey, man, you can't control everything. You don't, you're not going to be able to fix this problem. There's some things that you can work on, and that's only you, and everything else you're going to have to let it flow. And so that mindset is what I took on, and it was tough for my wife to understand at first, because we're so used to trying to juggle everything, but you know what happens when you try to juggle everything, you soon drop everything. And so we were trying to control everything, and I had to show her, as we stop worrying about the things that we can't control, the game changes. And so when we got that notice that said they're going to take the house away from us, and I told her, look, that's not going to happen. I tore the thing up. I told her it's not going to happen. And there were days we were out lights, we were out water. Without water, it was freezing outside. We were trying to put things together. But through it all, man, she started seeing that the game was changing. And eventually I went back to work. Like I said, 352 days later. And the funny thing is, I worked another 5 months, got laid off again for another 3 months. And so we pretty much had started it over again. But because we had gone through that 352 days, we were able to work through that, man. And so, the whole challenge, man, became, I learned that you can't control everything, right? Nobody's going to help you. You've got to be the one to take charge. And the way you take charge is focusing on what you can control. And all I could control was how I reacted to when the lights went out, how I reacted when the water was off, how I reacted when those bills came in that I didn't have money to pay for it. And it was just, hey, okay, it came in. Let's keep moving. Let's go focus on what we can control. And, like I said, I started doing something that I had never done before. And that was seeing problems as opportunities and challenges to become better. And what I would do every time I felt like I felt a little overwhelmed, or I felt a little stressed out, or I felt that problems just kept hitting me in the face and I was staggering and up against the ropes, I would just look up and I go, thank you for this opportunity, test, and challenge to get better. I know you got me. Thank you very much. And I would do that, man. And I do that to this day, because I know, that's where my strength comes from. That's the reason I have this unconquerable spirit, man. And so I just keep pushing because I know nobody's going to do it for me. I've got to do it for myself. So with that, man, it's been a beautiful ride, a beautiful journey, and a beautiful experience, because I look at now, man, I'm so excited, man. And the air conditioning. Every time I talk to you, Jake, this fan, man. Excuse me. Yeah, but every time, man, I look at, this weekend, man, two-time international best-selling co-author, man. That's something that I could never see for Eric Collier. And I've gotten a chance to speak on international and national stages with Les Brown and Dr. Drew and John Tellerico and Corey Poirier, Randy Spelling. I've gotten to speak on stages that I never saw myself speaking on before. And even though I've gotten to those chances to inspire people in over 20 different countries, man, I know that where I was, stuck in that mental quicksand, telling myself I wasn't good enough, that my life would never get better, that I was falling short as a parent, as a father, and we were struggling, man, trying to find a way. I know now, man, that lesson that I learned was I got to be grateful for what I've got. The opportunities that come to me and the challenges and tests that come to my way are all about making me better. And so that's why now I focus on helping people free themselves from that mental quicksand that holds them back from really introducing themselves to the best version of them. I want everybody to just ask themselves, what could the best version of me accomplish? What can the best version of me change for myself and my family? Because I see myself now on a movement that I was not on before. I was stuck, man, and I would have been there for the rest of my life had I not changed things for myself, had I not decided that this is no longer going to be. So I want everybody to think about that for themselves. What could the best version of you accomplish? What's out there for you? Something's out there waiting on you to become the best version of you to experience it. And man, I'm telling you, the movement, man, that movement to be able to change the direction, the path that your family was on, the path I was on was taking my family down a road that was a path that was continued on from generations and generations before me. Now the mindset is focus on what I can control, create the life I want to live, and teach my grandchildren the same thing. And so that's what we're working on now. And I see the change in my immediate family here in my, in this area here in the Washington, D.C. area, my brother, sister, my mother, my cousins, some of my cousins and some of my nieces and nephews, man. And, it's just been a beautiful journey.
A beautiful journey indeed. And very well explained and articulated is the word I'm looking for, Eric, by yourself there. And I think there's a defining moment in your story in them 352 days when things were as bad as they could ever get. I actually didn't know some of the things you said there. I didn't know the power got cut off. I didn't know there was no water. What I do know is that you came from military background, and then the skills, some of the skills that you'd learned in the military were then lent to a job outside of being in active service.
Yes.
A technical job that was a very well-paying job.
Yes.
And when you get used to that lifestyle and the rug gets taken from under you, it's very hard to keep sustaining it, right? And it just got deeper and darker, and the spiral went down and down. But I know there's a defining moment where a shift within you, where something changed and you started operating in a different way.
Yes. That, like I said, that moment, man. So it happened back to back, man. When your bills are behind, the phone keeps ringing, right? And you can run from it, but they keep ringing. And
Yep.
there was this night that I spent at least 20 minutes when I was going to get back to work. And when, and so he was like, okay, cool, understanding and everything else. The very next day, he calls back and I pick up the phone. And at that time, what you can't talk about is checks, budgets, bills, and bank accounts, because those start a lot of arguments, because there's a lot of tension there, especially when you're feeling less than what feeling less than a man, basically, because I couldn't provide. And so that guy calls and he says, Mr. Collier, I'm calling about this bill. I said, I just told you yesterday I didn't have the money to pay it, and this is why I didn't have the money. Well, when are you going to pay it? Whoa, hold up, man. Look, when I get the money, I said, when I get the money, I'll call you. And I hung up the phone. And I told my wife at that moment, look, from here on out, I'm not answering any of these phone calls. These bills can keep coming through, but all we're going to do is focus on what we can control. And that was it, man. I didn't necessarily say it that nice, but I yelled at the guy because I was so ticked off. I just talked to you the day before and you calling me back again. But he's on a mission to get his money, right? He doesn't care.
Yeah.
And so, trying to get people to explain when I was getting, so I was talking to you about the jobs, right? I'd get a job interview. Mr. Collier, that was a great job. We want to hire you. Here's the paperwork. Boom. I fill out the paperwork and they say, here, Mr. Collier, here's your start date. Boom. The start date would come close and they go, Mr. Collier, we can't bring you on board. Like, what do you mean? Your credit's bad. Your bills are behind. We don't know when we'll be able to make that happen. And it happened, I'd say at least happened 4 or 5 times. And so you'd go
so right there, so you didn't, sorry, I had to, because that's interesting. They wouldn't give you the job because of the financial situation you're in.
Right. Yes.
That's what you call a vicious circle right there, right? Because how are you meant to get out of that one? So you got out of that, someone just saw through that and gave you the chance and said, look, that stuff, because that, I can't even see why that matters.
Yeah.
Make any sense?
In my field, that's part of the hiring process. Your credit, your bills got to be at a certain level, and they've got to be able to bring you on board. In some cases, it's faster than longer, and so you got to go through an approval process. And like I said, they would say, Mr. Collier, we can't bring you on board. I'm like, why? They said, well, because of those reasons. I said, well, who do I need to talk to? There's nobody to talk to. And when I finally got an organization to allow me to talk to the one person that I thought could help me, he goes, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. I was like, wow. So I'm like, don't you understand? I'm like, when I'm working, my bills are paid. I'm not working now. That's why my bills aren't paid, right? You're talking about taking my 6-figure income and now it's, shot. So it was a tough one, man. And I was calling around trying to get people to listen. Nobody would listen. So, I just took on that mindset, man. Look, the only person that's going to do it is me. And the only way I can do it is the best way I know how, is just put my head down, keep grinding and doing what I believe is the right way, and just keep thanking for the opportunity, tests, and challenges. And that's what I did, man. And I just busted my butt, man. Like I said, 7 days a week, I'm cleaning toilets. I'm cleaning showers. I'm picking trash up. I'm doing that. I'm going to UPS. I'm loading up 4 trucks a night and then going back and doing it again, man. So that's what I did.
Yeah, just grinded. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you.
I'm good for that hustle, baby.
Exactly right. I'm good for the hustle, man. Other way, I'm good for the hustle. But I think you're right, man. No one's, I learned that in some of the. You've got family, you've got friends, sure, you've got people you can rely on, but no one else is going to take the actions you need to take to get you out of that mental quicksand, right? And out of that physical quicksand as well when it comes to things like finances. Yeah. Life doesn't come with a life jacket. No one's coming to save you. No one is coming to save you. You entered this world on your own, with a little bit of help. But you're going to leave it by yourself with no help. And I think that can be, it can be a trap that people fall into. They think, oh, look, if stuff doesn't work out, it's okay. This will happen and that will happen. And the government will look after me, or someone will look after me. Those days are gone, man. The government can't even afford its own bills, let alone looking after
Right.
you. So it's like you got
Yeah.
to figure it out, and you've got to do whatever you can to make things meet and make things work. And quite clearly, you did that. But do you think was the part before you got to, right, let's just be thankful for this, let's be grateful for this and turn this around, thank that higher power, and just work with what I got in front of me, take one step at a time? Obviously, then there was a shift. I know you started listening to a lot of positive messages
Oh, yes.
and reaffirming that to yourself. And then usually when you do that, there's usually quite a quick shift, but it didn't seem like it transpired that fast for you. You did that, and it was still months later, and
Yes.
things still weren't really turning around.
No. Yeah. Just because you change today doesn't mean that the world changes tomorrow. And so, I would listen, I would put my headphones on, and I began to listen to Dr. Vincent Peale and the power of positive thinking. And there was this one video that I would focus on where he talked about how people view problems. And I would listen to it over and over again. He talked about how he ran into a guy he knew who was complaining about the world and how problems were affecting his life, and how he wished he didn't have any problems. And he said if he knew that there was a place where there was any problems, he'd go there today. And so the doctor sat there and thought about it for a while, and he said, I know of a place where you can go. Or he said, where you will never have to worry about any problem. He said, and the guy goes, where? Really? Where? I want to know where this place is. He said, the cemetery down the road. He said, there are people there who no longer have a problem.
Yeah.
And that's what I realized, man. Problems are a part of life, man. Problems. I thought about this quote yesterday. Adversity creates legends, right? And that's what it does, right? Adversity allows you to find out exactly who you are. And it's when you hit your lowest point that you find out whether, like I talked about in the book, you're a man or a mouse. And those people who live life as a mouse find themselves in that same situation for the rest of their lives. Woe is me, playing the victim, and they never introduce themselves to the best version of them. Those people who are determined to face their problems head on. One of my favorite poems is when you step into a problem, meet it squarely face to face. And I think that's titled See It Through. And I think that's very important, because when you see your problems through, then you get to, like I said, see the opportunity in the problem that you're facing, and you get to work your way through it. And every time you try to avoid a problem, it just comes back even 2 times as hard, 2 times as tougher. And so I embrace the fact that I made a decision finally to commit to living a larger life, because I could have continued on that same path where I was no longer just trying to create a new life, believing in myself. I could have stayed on that path, and we could have still lost the house. We could have been homeless. We could have been back in my parents' house or somebody else's house trying to find our way out. But because I, like I said, stood up to that problem and started embracing the fact that these are challenge tests and opportunities for me to get better, man, the game changed for us. And now, like I said, I would have never met you guys had I not done that.
Isn't that true? Isn't that true? Because did you listen? Were you always someone who'd listen to, started with Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, of course, who was a mentor of Mr. Brown.
Yes.
And then Mr. Brown, passed it down, passed it on, started working with some of us. And that's how we met. And then that's how the podcast became. You became on the podcast. The podcast became the book, which just went out this weekend. You can just, you never know. I like to say you never know where life's going to take you, but with a clear vision and a goal and a good intention, the world can just open up for you and take you to places you could never dreamed or imagined of. Nobody could have told me, Eric, when I embarked on this journey, that I would have been part of a collaborating co-editor, co-creator in a book that with one of my heroes, Les Brown, and a bunch of friends who then became my heroes through their writing in the book. No one could have told me that would have been the case. I'd believed you because, I've got some big vision, but
Right.
I'm not too sure if I would have just saw it through. And actually, you're right, Eric. You're right, man. You know, you said there, and you're quite right. You were to be concerned that was it going to come through? Was the book actually going to happen? You know, I had some moments myself where I questioned whether it was going to happen. But what drove me through that, I think, is a similar things to what drove you through your difficult time, and that is that I am better than this, and I am not a victim of my circumstance nor of my environment. And actually, I hold the key to it all. You know, there's a key on the front of the book, and the
Yeah.
key is a reference and an ode to you having the key to your own life and unlocking your own future. And
I
that's
love
what
it.
people need to remember who are watching this. You know, that
Yes.
like it doesn't matter how hard things get. You know, Sinead said it real well here in the comments. I said every hardship and ease is coming. Keep going. Just keep on. Keep on. Hey, I tell you what, Eric, I'm going to take one of yours here. Just keep pushing because no one's going to do it for you.
That's right. Just keep pushing because nobody's gonna do it for you. My mom always told
Yeah.
me nobody's gonna give you anything. You're gonna have to go out there. If you want it, you got to go out there and work hard to go get it. Did I lose you?
And you certainly did. So let's fast forward. Let's press on a little bit about.
Yeah.
Sorry, you got me?
No, yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool.
Press that fast forward button and bring it up to. It's a little bit laggy, but I think it's all good. This technology, man, it's been playing Gremlins with me. We had some Gremlins for our launch at the weekend, but just to let everyone know as well, that launch was meant to go out live. I could not get that audio working. I nearly threw my laptop through the window here. Didn't know, kept my cool.
I'm
But it's
glad
all
you
been
didn't.
recorded and it's been stitched together. I would have been in trouble if I did. I'm not that sort of guy. It's all been recorded and stitched together. And I think, do you know what a great thing about this is, Eric? That it's all been documented. It's all been
Yeah,
documented right from before, from the moment it was conceived, all the way through that journey, then back to it getting out there into the world. And it's only just getting started. You know,
it
it
is.
genuinely
It
is
is.
only getting started. We've released the ebook version, the physical version, which, let's be honest, you know, people like an ebook. Some people prefer an ebook, but you can't
Yes,
beat just cracking the spine of a good physical book there, can you, man?
that's
You just,
right.
you know, and that smell as well. You know
I've
that
got.
smell of a book. The older, it's like wine. It's like wine. Yeah, they get better with age. They just smell better. I don't know where that musty smell comes from, but it's
I've
good.
had people ask me when we're gonna release the hard copy or the paperback something,
Yeah,
and so I told them be on the lookout January February time frame.
yeah, yeah. It's going to be there January, February, and then it's going to be the audio book, which is I love the fact that we're recording our own chapters in there. And
Yes.
the other thing with an audiobook that's really cool that you see a lot of people doing now is because it's an audiobook and it's always done a little bit after the writing was done. You know, people can go a little bit off script in there and go, hey, look, I just wanted to add this in because it was 2 years since I wrote this, or a
Right.
year, or 18, 6 months, 18 months. And there's nothing better than hearing someone's story through their own voice. Tell you someone who did it exceptionally well and has a voice of liquid gold that's just always a pleasure to listen to. Matthew McConaughey in his recent book Green Lights. I don't know if you've
Yes.
clocked that one, Eric, but
No.
he is of course a Texan, and I'm sure many people watching this will know his voice. But it's you just can't beat hearing someone's voice in their own story. Another mentor of mine and someone who I hold in high regard and have learned so much from, Gary Vaynerchuk, another person who
Yeah.
does all his own books in his own voice.
Yeah.
I think it's the only way it could be for us, actually, in an effort for us to stay on task and on trend with the voice of the book, which is authenticity.
Yes.
Sometimes you hear people do an audiobook, they've got a professional reader in and they're trying to, read it as they receive it. And that the tone sometimes doesn't quite hit the mark with it, I find. So
I agree.
it's exciting. It's exciting. There's so much more to come. But tell me, Eric, what was your favorite part of our launch at the weekend? What was the part you enjoyed the most? There's lots to enjoy.
Hearing that we were hearing that we were international bestsellers in 4 different categories, all which are part of the industry in which we are in. And I am truly excited about that because And like I said before, I could have never imagined C. Eric Collier as my mom and dad named me. Cecil Eric Collier is an international best-selling co-author or author or whatever, however you want to pronounce it. It just blew my mind, man. Just sit there and think about where I was at the moment. When I started this journey, I was 30 years old. I'm 53 now, and
Mhm.
at 30 years old, man, it took me the time we're talking about in the book, 2013 to 2015 time frame, right? And so, the time that it's taken me to really commit to chasing my dream, because I knew in 2004 I wanted to work with Les Brown. I said it. I told a friend of mine in the office space we were working in, I said, look, I want to work with Les Brown. I want to speak on stage with Les Brown. I want to learn from Les Brown. And I was so stuck in the mental quicksand of not believing in myself, not believing I was good enough, that when I had Les Brown on the phone, I couldn't even commit to that. I was so scared and just like, no, not me. There's no way I could do it. And but in 2000, by the time 2015 hit and that storm came through and just cleaned out my whole doubt, fear, and worry and about, what I was going to do with my life, I knew then, after hearing him speak on stage that day, I called him right after we got finished with that Get Motivated conference where he spoke. And he spoke in his office and his back was hurting. And I sat there, and the longer I watched him, I'm like, I got to do this. This is going to happen. I told my wife, I leaned over and I said, I'm going to chase my dream. I'm going to speak on stage. And so I called him afterwards and I told him, I'm the one. I'm going to speak I'm going to learn from you and I'm going to speak on stage. And even then, because we were coming out of that we were coming out of that bankruptcy status, or going through it, I couldn't commit financially, so I just did the next best thing, which was I started working on myself at home, and I started putting together little blogs here and there on LinkedIn. And when my LinkedIn account got hacked, I started doing live Facebooks, and then by that time, we were sitting at home with a lot of time on our hands because COVID hit. And the Les Brown Power Voice came about, and man, that was my opportunity, and I jumped right on it. So I look at anybody who finds themselves stuck, anybody who wakes up saying that there's got to be more, they're wanting more in life, they don't know how to go about doing it. Stop worrying about the how, just get up and do it the best way you know how. And sooner or later, great people like Jake and Michael and Irene and Janet McKay and Bayetta, people like who are in this book, are going to come into your life and they're going to help you create the opportunity you're looking for. You just got to get it started. You can't wait on anybody else. You can't hope somebody's going to come and save you. You've got to go out and do it yourself. You owe it to yourself. And if you have a family, you owe it to your family, because you are the one who can create this movement that you're looking for. The movement, the momentum shift is all you need, and it starts with you. Once you get that momentum shift started, the movement will take place. It may not happen overnight. It may not happen 30, 90, 120 days. It will happen as long as you're moving forward. You just keep pushing, because things are going to change for you. And I encourage everybody to get out of that mindset of I can't and start believing in yourself and saying I can.
Yes, sir. Rock and fire, brother. That's
That's
all
right. Let's
accurate,
rock and
correct,
fire.
true, and 100%, 100% just truth, man. Raw truth. Your mess becomes your message. Your test becomes
Yeah,
your testimony.
it
We've
does.
heard it 100 times, and that's what we're dealing with right here. Many reasons why this book didn't come to fruition earlier. And actually, if you're watching this, guys, and you haven't got your copy yet, I've just dropped in the comments. If you haven't got your copy, you better have a good excuse. If I've got your address,
I encourage
going to
you
be
to get
knocking
your
on your
copy.
door.
Hey, I just want to talk to. I want to touch on that. So you picked up. That's something I hit you with when we first started this. That quote, let's rock and fire, big fella. Right. That's a quote that came from my baseball coach years ago. His name was Norm Trimble. He's since passed away, but he would tell us that when we would be on the pitching mound or in the middle of a game and we're struggling, he goes, "Hey, I need you, big man. I need you. Let's take a deep breath, step back, and rock and fire." And that's what we used to do, man. And that would calm you down a little bit, and you just get back into the game, man. Because you get distracted, man. When adversity hits, man, you're not expecting it just hits, and it takes the wind out of you, man. It hurts, and you're expecting to perform well. Suspected to do, or you're expecting to do everything right, the way you practiced it, the way you planned it, but things go wrong. And when you have it, you have to have somebody to bring you back, because so you don't get distracted, so you can get that focus back in and hone in on the goal, the dream, the end point. And so that, hey, I need you. Take a deep breath, step back, let's rock and fire. That's it, man. You keep telling yourself that one all day long. I mean, it reminds me of him sitting over there on the sideline up against the fence at the dugout. He's kneeling down. He said, "Hey, Big Cease." That's what they used to call me. Big Cease. I need you, big man. I need you. Man, I tell you, that was cool, man. But yeah, man, this has been a I encourage people, man. You've got to find a way to talk to yourself better than accepting the negative stuff that you tell yourself. We're so conditioned to believe the negative stuff about us, and when we're told, "Hey, you have greatness in you," right? You're like, "I don't greatness in me. What? I'm not Muhammad Ali. I'm not Michael Jordan. I'm not who was it? Matthew McConaughey. I'm not all these people who Denzel
Mm.
Washington that you see on stage and these celebrities, but you don't have to be that. You have this greatness inside of you, and that greatness is the power that you have to create a new life, to create a better life for you and your family, to be able to impact the lives of others. Think about this, Jake. And I talk about the puzzle all the time, right? We go back to how we all landed in the power voice, right? And we all started working on our 2 to 3 minute speech together. What brought us there? The
Yes,
decisions
it
that
did.
we made up until that point. And then once we did what we were
Yep.
doing, was creating a puzzle for our lives. We all connected our puzzles at the power voice, and we stuck together. And from that, now we created this book, Hunger for the Hustle. Now we're creating a community, Hunger for the Hustle. And now we're being able to get these books out to where we're impacting the lives of others. And so now our puzzle just becomes this infinite puzzle. And through that, we get to help other people change their lives or impact the lives of others. I mean, man, I'm telling you, this is bigger than a journey. The journey takes us along to connect to Jake,
Mm.
connect to Michael, to connect to Irene. But the puzzle that we put together, man, it's a beautiful thing.
You're absolutely right. You've made something apparent to me there that I didn't even think about. We are really now creating a community at a global
Yeah,
scale, and that
yeah.
sounds like
That's the movement, Jake.
yeah, it is, man. I actually put something up yesterday. I say Join the Movement, by the book Join the Movement. And
Yeah.
and of course Eric's isn't the only story in there. There's 27 other stories,
Yeah.
all talking about adversity, all talking about the struggles to success in a variety of different things. They're not just financial. They're not financial things. Not all financial things. People losing their jobs. There's sometimes people losing their spirit, their loved ones,
Yeah.
themselves.
Mhm.
Or even. And then there's some other stuff which isn't as deep and dark in there. There's some light-hearted stuff as well. My own mother wrote a chapter in there, which is just something that's phenomenal for me, and will become part of
That-
mine and her legacy. That it was just about her traveling overseas and getting used to different cultures, which isn't something amazingly difficult or challenging. It's actually quite a nice, endearing story. All the stories are endearing, but yeah, there's a real. What I'm trying to portray here and convey is that it's a real book of variety, and I
yeah.
genuinely believe that anyone who picks it up, I'm not just saying this because I'm trying to sell it, although buy your copy. Um, there's something in there for everyone, and
Yeah.
for just what it still is. Let's get it up right here. What it still is up a couple of dollars.
Yeah.
It's something that it's an investment that you're going to want to make
And Jake,
for yourself
I want
and
to
for those around you as well.
yeah. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I just didn't want the thought to get away.
Mhm.
And you talk about your mother, even your sister, right? Are on here in this book. Think about that, Jake. That's the movement right there. You, your mom, and your sister doing this. This is awesome right here. I sit there and I watch you guys Saturday. I thought that was just a beautiful thing, man. The celebration, man. Mom's got her wine. She's celebrating and she's happy. Her son, her daughter, I loved it, man. I love it. The grandson there, or granddaughter, right?
Grandson, grandson.
Grandson, I
Yeah,
apologize. I apologize. Yeah, in the
yeah.
picture, and I thought that was
That's all
just a
good. All
beautiful
good.
thing, man. I love that, and so that's the movement we're talking about because mindsets change, and even her story to her and to anybody else who reads it, they may see it as, oh, that was a pretty fun thing. But if your mom, let's say, is an introvert, let's say your mom has anxiety around a lot of different people, then that becomes a different story. Whereas somebody else looks at that and goes,
Mhm.
these are the challenges that I face when I'm stepping into a new environment and I don't know anybody, or I'm around a group of people I've never, I don't know, or I've never expected to be around. It's a different story, but we all face different challenges. And I think the fact that 28 different stories, and they're not, they're not everyday stories. They come with some challenges that I think everybody can learn from the different tips and techniques that we all use to come out of it to, say, hey, look, if they can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah, exactly right. That's it. Just everyday people, all picked for a reason, with a reason to spread their message.
Yes.
The people, or in all of this, were handpicked. I thought about who I was asking. I thought about how the story that they had told me in this very own podcast that we're in now about 600 days ago for some of them, some like yourself. I
Mhm.
thought, can that story transmit onto the page? And is it powerful enough indeed to be conveyed in such a way that it will help someone get to where they otherwise couldn't get to without that help? And I think we did a good damn job of doing that, Eric. So I
I
commend
do too.
you on your chapter and your work and the community that we're building. And I'm not just trying to put wind in your sails here, but genuinely, you have done a good job. It's been an
Thank
honor to work with you and with the rest of the team. And I'm just so excited for what's to come, man. Like I said, we're just getting started. And, our end goal for this, you know what the end vision is, and I can see it now, that speaking tour, us
you.
on the tour bus, just reeling it off after the shows, hitting the next city, inspiring another few thousand
Yeah,
people,
right.
and it's gonna when you work on something that's bigger than you become bigger. And I don't mean that in a physical sense. I'm 6'4",
Right.
get much bigger. I'm going to struggle getting through doorways. But what I mean, it grows you in your spirit, and that grows you in your mindset, and then that
Yeah,
grows your energy, and then that grows your life, the way you interact with others, and the way that others interact with you. And
yeah,
unknowingly, you actually have an impact on the world in everything that you do. And sometimes, like Norm Trimble did for you, that
yeah,
impact is going to last way after you're actually even left this earth, and
yes,
you pass it on. That's legacy. That's
yeah,
what we're orchestrating here, and that is why we we want you to be a part of it and get a part of this book, right? Because
yeah,
it's going to be something that you're going to enjoy more than anything. I think is
yeah,
the main thing.
yes. I think that's been you hit it right on the nail, but you hit the nail right on the head, man. Life is bigger than us. And when we realize that life is bigger than us and what we want, then that's when life changes for us because it's about us, but it's not about us. It's about the lives that we're able to impact. The talents that we bring to this world aren't for us to just hold on to and take them to the grave. They're for us to solve a problem. They're to us to fix a disease or help cure a disease. They're for us to help people come out of situations that many people don't come out of. And so when we're not doing that, when we don't have understanding of our purpose or our goal in life, what happens is we begin to get stuck, and we find ourselves there as what I call a member of the Walking Dead Society until we're dead and we're gone. So we're just basically walking this earth, wandering as what is it? A wandering generality is what we used to hear all the time. And you're just hoping that, either you die tomorrow or somebody will save you. And that's not the life you want to live. You're not put on this earth to do that. You're here to produce, you're here to be creative and to help others. And so I think, like I said, life is bigger than me. Life is bigger than the woes and the sorrows that I have. And so I've got to keep going, keep pushing, because every day that's a chance for me to get better. And as I get better, I get a chance to prove and lead others and help them understand that we can create a movement that is going to change this world.
Yes, sir. That's the way. That's the way. It's why you got to adopt. I've said it once, I'll say it twice on this podcast. The mess becomes the message. And just because you might be listening to this, you might be in that quicksand right now. Don't worry, it's not going to swallow you up. It's not going to swallow you up. That quicksand hasn't got the capacity to swallow you up, because you've got power and greatness within you that is way bigger than anything that has taken out of you. You are way bigger than anything that is trying to be taken away from you. Your positive power is way stronger than your negative power. I'm going to try and do something clever here, and I don't know really what I'm trying, because these clever things haven't been working out too well for me lately. But I'm going to try and share. We got the book right here. Here it is, Hunger for the Hustle, Volume 1, 28 Stories of Struggles to Success. You'll see it there, the Kindle edition, because that's what it is right now. It's the ebook, the digital version. And just to let you know, everyone, that doesn't mean that you need to have a physical Kindle. It doesn't mean you need to have a Kindle device. If you download it and you haven't got a Kindle, it's going to take you to the app. You can download the app on any phone, any tablet, and then you can read it on anything. You get a little sneak preview if you click over here. If you got your Amazon or your Kindle subscription already, it's not going to cost you a cent. Don't worry, we still get paid, but that's all good. We still get to give our portion to charity, because we'll get onto that in a minute. But the proceeds of the book do go to charity. And then even if you aren't a member of the Kindle, anything over here, then right over here, it's only $2.98. $2.98, and let me tell you, pretty much after this podcast finishes in the next 10 or 15 minutes, you're not going to be paying that price. So if you're watching this now, then get it now, because I want you to get it for the best price.
That's a beautiful thing, Jake.
Yeah. And there you go. Some technology that actually worked for me for once. It's been a bit of a struggle there. The link's in the comments as well. So pick up your copy for less than a coffee. That's what we like to say. Pick up your copy for less than a coffee. It's 5 to 8 in the morning here. Really, I've been up a few hours, but we're just getting started, just getting rock and fired. And I really can't think of a better way to start the day than to chop it up with one of my fellow authors, fellow best-selling authors, I should say, and someone who's committed to making themselves and the world a better place. So, man, it's been great to chop it up with you, bro, and I appreciate you. We're going to take it to just keep climbing. Keep climbing.
We got no choice, Jake. We got no choice, man. We started something here that we got to finish. Like you said, we can't stop now. There's no way I'm stopping.
We stopping us now.
Got to keep pushing, baby. We got to keep pushing. I thank you again for giving me the opportunity to join you. This really started a whole new journey. Part of my putting the puzzle together, because now I've co-authored 4 books. 2 of them now are international best-selling bestsellers, and I've gotten to speak on stage at Columbia University, and like I said, in 20 different countries. And I know that had I not been in that moment where I was at my lowest, feeling less than a man, feeling less than a husband and a parent, and not being able to provide for my family, I would not now be focused on helping other individuals free themselves from that mental quicksand so they could live a life free, elevate their lives, and be free of what holds them back. So, man, I'm gonna tell you, this was huge for me, and I really thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I'm looking forward to being an ambassador of Hunger for the Hustle for the rest of my life.
Oh, my pleasure, man. That's such a kind thing to say, and it means so much to me. And just thanks for doing such a great job. You've been a pleasure to work with, as has everyone that's been involved. And I mean that everyone's been a pleasure to work with. Some have been a little bit more difficult than others, but all a pleasure. All adds value to the journey. It's not going to be easy, and nor should it be. And this hasn't been easy. I got pretty sick in the middle of it, and that held up the project. But there's another element to this that we haven't touched on, guys, and that's there's a charity called Beanie's Arc. I'm going to put that in the comments, which is why you'll see me looking down right there because I'm just typing in Beanie's Arc. Check that out when you got a few minutes to yourself. Check out what Beanie's Arc is. You'll see it's a UK-based charity that is driven towards funding cash funds research for a very rare form of cancer. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it because I'll make a complete hash of it. But it's about that long, and it's a word that begins with R. It's a rhombomastercoma. That's what I told you I wasn't going to try and pronounce it. It's terrible. It's a terrible thing, and it only happens to small children. It's a really rare form of cancer. It's that rare they don't know how to treat it because unfortunately these children don't last that long. They don't get that much chance to work with it and treat it. But we are raising funds. It's a very close cause to my heart. Someone I went to school with and has been a friend of mine for many years of my life lost their child to it at barely 2 years old. So it seemed like to me the obvious charity to choose, and I'm glad we did. And I'm glad we are going to not only make a difference to, of course, our own lives, becoming part of something that's bigger than us. I'm still here.
Okay.
It's all good.
All right.
Yeah. We've contributed to something that's going to make us bigger through being part of something that's bigger than us, helping everyone that opens up that book and reads a few chapters, and also to those little kids that are going to receive the profits from this book, not directly, of course, but to the charity, and then could well improve their lives. Who knows? My dream and vision is that this charity's raised £2 million already. And the next goal is 5 million. We can help them do that. And that might even be enough to find a cure for this damn thing. Who knows?
Yeah.
So, it's all good intentions. When you work with good intentions, which we genuinely have, only good things can come of that. So,
yeah, I agree with you, man.
Rock and fire.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Still need to get that on a t-shirt, Eric.
Yes, rock and fire, big fella. Hey, I don't know where we are in this, but I wanted to give some thanks to some other people before I go. It's something I haven't done before when we do this, but man, I got to give thanks to my wife. 33 years we've been together, and 31 of them married. I want to thank her for all the support that she's given me, man, and just being there and working with working with me as we struggle through the different challenges that we had. I really love you, baby. Thank you. Also, my 3 children, Christopher, Alexia, and Ariana. And man, the people who I wouldn't be here. My mother, my father, all the challenges and things that we've gone through. I really appreciate the 2 of you. And I now understand why, we went through the challenges that we went through. I thank you. And also to a couple of my heroes, my sister and my brother. We've gone through some things, but we still pushing through, and I love you guys all. So thank you very much.
You got it, Eric. You got it, brother. We're going to get that on. I reckon, I'm going to set a new goal for us both. We've got to get that AC fixed, man. I can't believe. Man, I thought you were on 6 figures, brother, and you can't even get the AC fixed in your house.
I know, man. I gotta get a better air conditioning guy because he just keeps making my eyes water, man. So yeah,
I reckon we get rock. We've got how many days we got to the end of the year? I don't know, less than 20, I guess. 23. Yeah. Do you reckon we can get Rock and Fire on a t-shirt by the end of the year?
We're gonna get one. I'm gonna call my guy.
I reckon we could do it. I reckon we can do it. Let's get a design together. Let's get some out there.
Hey, man, I do this for my 6 grandkids too, man. I left them out. I didn't mean to, but that's my heart, man. My 6-pack. That's a reason. That's a lot of why I do what I do, man. So, to my 6-pack, I love you guys too. So,
well, Six pack, I like it, man. just to give some perspective here. You've been with your wife 33 years. I've only been alive 34. So you've been with your wife. I'm not sure how that makes you feel, but you've been with your wife almost longer than I've even been on the planet. That's crazy. That's crazy, man. That in itself is such a huge achievement, though, in the modern world we're in, to be steadfast with one person for that long. So congratulations on that, man. Just the bond you must have must be incredible. So you know,
I mean,
it's
that was part of
an
the challenge
achievement within itself.
That's been part of my challenge too. How do I stay with my wife when, you know, my parents split when I was 4? You know, my father was around, but you know, how do you you know, keep a household together, you know, as a married couple? How do you stay together and not break up? We used to always have that conversation. Oh, you're gonna have that 1 year itch, you're ready to go. You got the 7-year itch, you're ready to go. The 10-year itch, you're ready to go. Right? And so, you know, there's a lot of challenges, man. And then being the father, I just kind of, man, you know, something you got to do is you just have to figure out how you want it. And that's how you start operating it, man. And that's how I create the family environment that we have here, man. And we just, you know, do it the way we want it to be done, because her parents split up too, you know, but, and it's created a beautiful environment, man, around here. So,
you got to be careful of those patterns, because, you know, some things are taught, some things are caught. My parents split up. My parents split up when about the same age as you did, as yours did for you. Sorry, about 3 or 4 years old. And man, those patterns can try and play out for you, and you got to be, you know, you got to be aware of them, and you got to do a lot of inner work to make sure you change that paradigm and have that paradigm shift. So that's a whole other podcast, though, I think, Eric.
It is, buddy.
Other podcast. Hour to itself.
In the next
book. I'll get into that one day. In the next book, in the next chapter. More of life's struggles. Yeah, because look, good way to wrap it up. Those struggles aren't going to stop coming. They'll keep coming. They'll keep presenting, and you'll keep overcoming them. So stay happy, stay healthy, stay hungry, folks, and keep on hustling. Eric, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today. I look forward to having you on again. If you haven't got that copy of the book, guys, it's in the comments there. Hunger for the Hustle. Just search it on YouTube, Google. You're going to find it. Get your copy for less than a cup of coffee. I'm out. Over and out. So is Eric. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jake. Thank you, everybody.